Alright, so in this video, we're going to talk about how the early year Dynas are different from the 06 and up Dynas. Let's check it out. What's going on, YouTube? FXDLS Brooklyn is back in the building. Coming at you from a beautiful morning here in Brooklyn, about to rip across one of my favorite bridges, the good old Williamsburg Bridge. Let's get that FXDX startup. Not bad, not bad. We'll take that. Okay, shall we? Shall we? Let's do it. Woo! Alright, we're moving. Oh no, some congestion. Sometimes congestion is good though. Gives me a chance to talk to y'all about whatever the topic is, and it gives me a chance to look at my beautiful city from one of my favorite places to look at it. Look at that with that ferry passing by. If that's not the most picturesque sight of New York City, I don't know what is. Oh my, do I love New York. But on to the topic. So, you all see me ripping around on my 2001 FXDX. You often hear me being elated and very happy when I'm on this bike. And you also know that I run a 2016 FXDLS. So I'm getting the natural question from a lot of you all, whether it's folks who are new to the Dyna FXR scene or it's folks who have been in it for a minute, which is, hey bro, what are the key differences between the early year Dynas, like the one that you're on now, and the late year Dynas, say the 06 and up, like your FXDLS? So there's a couple. For a new rider or for somebody who does not ride Harley Davidsons, honestly, if you put them side by side, they probably would not be able to tell the difference. You know, it looks, aesthetically at least, pretty similar. You would have to really know your Dynas at that point to be able to pick apart some of the key differences just on sight, right? But there are some key differences that you might think are really small, but actually add up to really make it a completely different bike. I've said this before in previous videos, but they call both of the bikes Dynas, right? But honestly, the two bikes could not be any different. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like, again, early year Dyna, an FXR, and an 06 and up Dyna, they might as well all be considered different things in their own league. You know, this bike that I'm on right now could not feel any more different than my 2016 Lowrider S. So again, you're asking yourself, what are those key differences? Okay, so key difference number one is you got your 39mm forks, right? Rather than your 49mm forks on the 06 and up. So you got a smaller fork tube. You also have a smaller tank. So again, smaller forks, smaller tank. And finally, the frame itself is also smaller. So you are dealing with a Dyna that is smaller than the other Dynas. So what does that mean? Well, that means you're going to be able to throw it around a little bit more. That means you have significantly less weight. And again, it might as well be a completely different bike. So yeah, you got less weight. You got more throwability significantly. So if you're doing like city miles like I'm doing right now, I would much rather be on a early year Dyna than a late year Dyna, 100%. And then if you look carefully, the aesthetic is different for sure. So that's a key difference between the models, right? The next key difference is you're talking about bikes that are carbureted versus bikes that have fuel injection. So now you take those two factors. We're talking a way smaller frame, a way lighter frame, plus a carbureted bike. And like I said, you now have two bikes that, again, I don't even know why we're calling both of them Dynas. You know, I figured call one a Dyna, call the other something else, right? Because they could not feel any different. So now in terms of what is my preference, if I had to choose between the two, which one would I prefer? For the riding that I'm doing most of the time, I'm definitely going to pick what I'm on right now. You know, I would pick a 2000 to say 2002 DX is what I'm going to go with. In terms of FXR, early year Dyna, and late year Dyna, in terms of all those platforms, I found that this is the frame that actually fits me the best and is the most versatile for every type of situation of riding that I'm doing. So that's my preference, right? Now, that's not to say that I do not get after it on my FXR, that I do not rip around on my 2016 Lowrider S. I do. But again, in terms of everyday riding, what I'm doing, I'm always going to pick my 01 DX for the situations I'm putting myself in. Now, in terms of my late year Dyna, my 2016, if I were touring, like if I'm doing the bike trips, that's what I'm going to choose, you know? In terms of just sitting on fast highway miles, that bike is going to beat this bike. And I'm not even talking with the FXRT fairing, I'm talking just with the frame alone and maybe running the damn thing close to stock. I do think that the later years are going to sit on fast highway miles better than these smaller frames are going to. But again, that's just my personal opinion about it, but I have spent a good amount of miles on both platforms. But yeah, I figure those are the key differences. I'm sure I'm not covering all of them. I'm covering as much as I can. The ones that are really noticeable for me, at least. But I say this all the time, you know, there's always someone else that is gonna know more than I do, who's gonna maybe be able to tell you a little bit more than I can about some of the nitty-gritty various tech specs that maybe you'd want to know about the different bikes. So as always, I love to leave it open in my comment section. Am I missing something? Are there other key differences that maybe I left out? I'm sure there's a bunch, but y'all let me know in the comment section. But for me, you know, in my experience, that's the noticeable differences, you know. And again, it might not seem like a lot, but if you put in the miles, you're gonna notice them quickly. But that's all I got for this one. As always, stay safe out there, stay low, ride early Dynas, ride late Dynas. Just make sure that you do ride Dynas. And FXRs, of course. And on that, FXCLS Brooklyn is out.